the meadows and everywhere. Sing out a blessing to everyone. Lift up your voices, lift your hands on high. Sing and the battle is won. Sing in the meadows and everywhere. Sing out a blessing to everyone. Lift up your voices, lift your hands on high. Sing and the battle is won. Sing in the meadows and everywhere. Sing out a blessing to everyone. Lift up your voices, lift your hands on high. Sing and the battle is won. Sing and the battle is won. Sing and the battle is won.
Good morning, everyone. Again, I'm Dharna, and this is Prita, and it's a joy to be here with you today. I will begin with Whispers from Eternity. Demand for removal of the veil of illusion. Veils surround me, Father, hiding thee from me. I love the daintily colored veils of roses and daisies, the shining veils of clouds of burning gold, the dark star-decked shoal of the night. But how long wilt thou remain hidden behind all these veils? I love them because they hint at thy presence, yet still they hide thee. I long to see thee as thou art, behind all this cover of veils. Om. Amen. Well, that is a beautiful topic. Can man see God? First of all, St. John tells us, no man hath seen God. But then, farther in the reading, it says, can God be seen? And it's a difference. There's kind of a big difference. Here we're talking about man seeing God, and here we're talking about, can God be seen? It's not saying, can God be seen by man? The premise kind of changed, and it's kind of fun. I always love this play of words. But first of all, when we're talking about man, when we're talking about, when the scriptures talk about man, we're talking about perhaps our mortal eyes. We're talking about perhaps the soul identified with the ego, not the soul, just the body, the senses. And when we're talking about the senses, yes, the senses cannot see God. The veils are there. We cannot see deeper into our own greater reality. How many of us, every one of us probably has had some experience of the divine at one time or another. I contend that every meditator at some point will get some beautiful experience of light, of love, of so many different things, of Om. We've all had them, and we'll all continue to have them so long as we keep steadfast in our search. So it's not a question of whether we can, I suppose. Maybe it's a question of how we can do it. What is ego consciousness? And it is described in this whisper really as the veil. And in the whisper is describing beautiful veils. But there are also ugly veils, many ugly things that happen, many lenses that don't allow us to see reality as it really is. Master used to say to his disciples, if you can only see yourselves as I see you, you will see these beautiful beings of light. He used to say that to everyone. When we start our lives, even when we're young, when God gives us all the strength that we're going to have in our youth, we have all this roaring energy and we feel invincible. How often do we really want to go to church per se. You know, I was born Catholic, and my dad was always go to church. You know, and at the beginning, actually, I was a good kid. I was always wanting to go to church. I loved it. I loved being an altar boy. I just loved it, all of it. And yet, somewhere along the line, that went away. And I'll touch on that a little later, but it went away, and I started to rely on this God-given energy, this God-given power. Not thinking that it was God-given, I thought that I was invincible, so to speak, like many of us teenagers when we are teenagers think. And then something fun happens. Life, oh life. Man, there's a beautiful saying that says, youth is wasted on the young. And I think it's referring to that strength, to that vibrant power that we all experience at some point in our lives. But we go on living, and we get ourselves entangled by life. Whatever it might be, we fill ourselves with responsibilities. We go on. And suddenly, somewhere along the line, we find life coming back. And we find the ticket of whatever we've been borrowing coming to collect. Whatever excess we might have done. When it's a person that exercises too much, we wear our bodies. Person that doesn't exercise, well, the other results are there. It's one, it's the other, it's this way, it's that way, but it always comes back. Life always comes back to us and says, here's a ticket, and here's another one. And then we start to become, little by little, as we go on in life, we start to become very aware of our own mortality. And lo and behold, the biggest fear that we all have, Master said that literally the only fear that is there, we have all these fears ahead of it, but really the only fear is the fear of death. It's the one that's right behind everything else, just governing everything that is in front of it. Right now we have the people that have a lot of money and that keep wanting to have more money when they're old and in their 80s or 90s, whatever it might be, and they're just trying to have more money. Really, what are they trying to have? They're just trying to have more of that illusion of control, because we think that the more money we have, the more security we have, therefore, perhaps we're a little closer to immortality, somewhere in the back of our heads. And isn't that true for everything? The more we're trying to have control of things, of material things out there, the more really that we are afraid. The more that we are afraid of that which we cannot control. And that which we cannot control is, at the end of the day, is these bodies, the aging process, everything that goes on. And all in all, at the end of the day, is life. Little by little, we realize that at the end of the day, all that we thought we controlled, suddenly we realize we weren't controlling much. It was happening, and from time to time, we were aligned with what was trying to happen, and it all went perfect. And suddenly, we thought we were controlling, and everything went the other way. So it goes both ways. When we are aligned with the divine will, we might feel that everything's happening exactly as we want. But it might, if we are aligned through our consciousness, through the consciousness of aligning to that divine will, then everything happens beautifully. When we think we are the ones that are doing, then everything goes the other way. But what happens? What is the reality of it all is the eyes cannot see God. The mortal eyes cannot perceive God. Unless Divine Mother decides to reveal herself to us, that we might have a vision, then at that point we might have a vision. But still, I think it's referring to a more permanent seeing of God, the real perception of God. And how do we do that? The eyes can't see it. The only way to see it is through the divine perception. So I'd like to read to you a little passage from the AY. And it's from the life of Sri Yukteswar. Sri Yukteswar had seen Babaji, and then Babaji kind of escaped him when Sri Yukteswar went to get some gifts for him and his group. And Sri Yukteswar was kind of upset. And so it starts right here when Sri Yukteswar went to visit Lahiri. It says, a few months later, I visited Lahiri Mahashaya in Benares. As I entered his little parlor, my guru smiled in greeting. Welcome, Yukteswar, he said. Did you just meet Babaji at the threshold of my room? Why no, I answered in surprise. Come here. Lahiri Mahashaya touched me gently on the forehead. At once, I beheld near the door the form of Babaji, blooming like a perfect lotus. I remembered my old hurt and did not bow. Lahiri Mahashaya looked at me in astonishment. The Divan Guru gazed at me with fathomless eyes. You're annoyed with me. Sir, why shouldn't I be? I answered. Out of the air you came with your magic group, and into the thin air you vanished. I told you I would see you, but I didn't say how long I would remain. Babaji laughed softly. You were full of excitement. I assure you that I was fairly extinguished in the ether by the gust of your restlessness. I was instantly satisfied by this unflattering explanation. I knelt at his feet. The Supreme Guru patted me kindly on the shoulder. Child, you must meditate more, he said. Your gaze is not yet faultless. You could not see me hiding behind the sunlight. So there are two, and this is just such a beautiful reading, and I think about it all the time, especially when I'm praying to God, when I'm praying to Divine Mother, when I'm looking for a sign, when I'm looking for an answer. How many times are we praying for something and for guidance? Give me, show me, guide me, grab me by the hand and take me where I must go. You have two things in front of you. You don't know which one is the right one to follow, and we're praying. And yet, if we act, there's two key words. One of them that Babaji said to Sri Yukteswar was restlessness. And mind you, I always go back to the first time that I read this beautiful book, and I honestly, the first time I read it, I thought it was some kind of, like most autobiographies, is like someone's trying to live their legacy or they're introspecting on their life. This wasn't that. Immediately, I got the feeling, I was like, why did he write this book? He didn't need to write this book. But then as I went on, I realized that this book was written for us. It wasn't a book that was written as an introspection of his own life. He wrote it for us as a roadmap of who we can become, what the steps are going forward, everything that we go through, what are the attitudes and ways in which we can receive their wisdom. And so here's Babaji telling Sri Yukteswar, Master, he says, it was your restlessness that vanished me. Now, isn't that just kind of a key word of wisdom that is given to all of us? And what is the wisdom? It is our restlessness. What keeps us from meditating well? Our own restlessness. What keeps us from listening? If we're trying to listen to someone, if we're trying to focus, the very restlessness in our heart. And so Babaji tells Lahiri another key thing. And it's really beautiful. It says, your vision is not yet clear. I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember. But it's really what it is. Huh? Faultless, there we go. Your vision is not yet faultless. And what does that mean? That means that all of our visions are set. We will become faultless. We will be able to see each and every one of us through what? Then he tells us right away, through meditation. He says, you must meditate more. First he tells him it was your own restlessness. Then he tells him, you must meditate more. And isn't that just a message for every one of us? How do we get there? What do we do? How do we get to the heart of it? How can this man see God? It's a very beautiful road. And it's a road that at some point we've all taken one way or the other. And I keep saying, we were having satsang the other day with a couple of friends, and I was talking about the many fences. Because many times we talk about, that person's still on the fence. They're not jumping this way, they're not jumping that way. And many times we're talking about the spiritual path. Many of us are undecided to go forward. Well, guess what? It's not just one fence. It's many fences. It's one fence after the other that we have to keep jumping. We are able to be in some kind of comfort place. We get our comfort place for a little bit, but then eventually the next fence comes up. And we have to climb that fence, and then when we're on top of that fence, we have to jump again and just take that plunge. We were talking. We were looking at a beautiful property with some of our friends at the ashram, and we're making a bid to acquire it. And it's a beautiful, beautiful property that is really a very, very large ashram. It has like 9 rooms, and it has all kinds of space. And currently, it's an ashram for a different path. And we were all just so excited, but the thought that came is like, are you ready to take a deeper plunge? Because this is much more monastic than what we have right now. Right now, we all have our own little place, and we're kind of, I'm doing my thing over there, he's doing his thing over there. But what about when we all live together, and we are having classes at the ashram, when we're having all kinds of offerings that we're trying to do? What that's doing, that's a wonderful thought. But that thought is also requiring more of us. It's saying to me, yes, you can do it. Would you do it? Can you do it in your heart? Am I ready to take a plunge from the fence that I'm currently on? And isn't that the truth? That we just go from fence to fence to fence until we finally hit the last fence. And then we have a clear sailing, so to speak. We start off life. But anyways, the thought was just such a beautiful thought. But for every one of us, it brought something. And I could feel it in my heart very clearly. It's like, are you? Will you? Will I take another plunge and another deeper plunge? Go deeper in my commitment. Go deeper in my commitment to serve. Go deeper in my commitment to selflessness. Can I let go of my comfort? Can I let go of my house, of my room, of my setup, and decide to go a little deeper? And so every time the different fences are just circumstances that God presents us with and says, how much is your commitment? And according to the commitment is exactly like in the energization exercises that we hopefully practice every morning. It's just a beautiful set of exercises for those who might not know that Ananda brought for us, and we practice them every morning and every evening before our sadhana, and it just fills us out with energy. But Swami said, the greater the will, the greater the flow of energy. We repeat that every single time. Why? Because the more we put out energy, the more energy is given to us. To him who has much, much is given. Therefore, the more we give, the more we receive. It's just both and. It just goes back and forth to every one of us. The basic, simple law of abundance. If we give, we will receive. And if we give with Nishkan Karma without desire for the fruit of it, the more we will receive. And so, anyways, we start life, like I was describing, when I was a little boy and my dad used to send me to church, and I was like, okay, I'll go. And you know what? I was doing that with our 2 girls here, and I was like, okay. They're like, will you take us to Starbucks before? I was like, yes, I will. But then you guys have to give me something. Can you guys tell us what the talk was all about? Maybe a point or 2. And then Prita jumps in and she's like, yes, but it's not that easy. Something that resonates in your heart. Something that you practice or are willing to practice. That was better than what I used to do. I used to just try to memorize something that the father said. And I was like, okay, I passed. Because my dad would come here and like, come here. You guys went to church. You're not off the hook yet. Now you have to tell us what it was about. But anyways, we start off there, right? And that's the first fence, going to church. Yeah, we start with that. And then eventually we climb it. I loved going to church when I was a boy. Eventually, somewhere around 12, 13, I started not being able to go farther. It was dogmatic for me. I couldn't take it. It was just do this and you'll be saved. And I'm like, well, how? Tell me why. I don't get it. I want to believe and I love it. I love Jesus. I love the church. I love the energy there. Just tell me why, because otherwise I can't come. It's fake for me in a way. Fake deep in my heart. I couldn't fathom it. I couldn't take it. I just simply couldn't resonate with it. So anyways, eventually I stopped going. And yes, life came at me. Just as much as I came at life came at me. And eventually I found myself one day at church in the middle of the night just praying because I felt so lost. This was many years later. And finally, I started on this wonderful path. And the teachings resonated with me. They felt true immediately. The moment I read them, I felt truth. But how did I get there? The point is, when we think we are strong, when we think we're good, we just go. But then suffering comes, duality, the reality of everything in this life, duality, the underlying reality behind everything just hit me. And it hits every one of us, whether it's suffering through money, suffering through love, suffering through health, everything. Everything will happen to all of us. And when that happens, if we are not anchored in God, we will want to be anchored. And so that there is another fence. We find another fence. I went to church. I needed consolation, and I just went to church in the middle of the night. And there I said, tell me what to do. I feel lost. I'm completely gone. I don't know what to do. And within a week, I was on this path. I had found this path in which I found a great consolation and a great love in my heart. I found myself slowly again. But through that, I found many more fences to climb. Which ones? Well, at first, I spent years going to Ananda in Nevada City. And they would tell me, go to LA. And I was like, I think I'm comfortable coming here. It's just every 6 weeks, every 2 months. No one asks anything of me. They're not asking me to come every week. They're not asking me to do save-hour service. They're not asking me for anything. I just love going over there. Little by little, that changed. Eventually, I started coming here, and then found more fences. Now I was coming every week. I was coming to service. Here's another fence to climb. Now I was offered the opportunity to serve more. And then I was offered the opportunity to serve more, to go deeper. Everything is a fence. And isn't that true of our quest for God? It's all a matter of how much do we want to see God? Because as much as we're willing to give is what we will receive. When we live in the reality that this material world is the reality, then we think we're giving a lot. But if little by little, our spiritual life, our soul, and God become a true reality, then we start putting more weight on that. And whatever we think we're giving is nothing to give. All the money in the world, all the riches in the world, all the comforts in the world are nothing to give, because this is not as important anymore. We realize that it never brought us the happiness that it promised. The promise of that happiness, it fails us again and again and again. And so when we little by little, we offer ourselves even a little more. Nayaswami Narayan, he would always used to say, it's all directional. It's not a matter of trying to get there in one fell swoop or one big step. He says, as long as we're directional, we're in the right path. And the point was, what he was trying to tell me is, doesn't matter how many times you fall. If you couldn't meditate or you didn't have the desire to meditate, just give it to yourself. Many years ago, I was sharing this during breakfast with some of our friends. I was having this, I went out to Fiji. I had just taken Kriya that year, the year before, and I was doing really well. And I went to Fiji on my own for like 2 weeks, and I was hopping from island to island to island, and I was having a great time in a great seclusion. I was seeing it as a seclusion. People were over there partying, and I was over there under a coconut tree, just reading books or doing my kriyas, and it was just a divine time. And then temptation came in whatever form, and I fell backwards. And here I am again the next morning, just regretting it and guilting myself for whatever I did that is not what I set out to do. And I clearly heard, like a voice telling me, so what? Yes, you did that. Now what? And I was like, really? Because I was taking it very serious. I'm like, I did something and now I have to pay. This is what was in my mind. And the voice told me, no, you did something. So what? And then I heard something else that said, get up and meditate. And I was like, wow, I can't do that. And I did that. And then I felt better. And yet, obviously, however we fail, whether it's to not meditate, whether it's not to be kind to someone, whatever it might be that we're trying to offer to purification, to change, it doesn't matter. It is something that is affecting us. And the point was, can I be loving to myself? And at that moment, the lesson was taken. And I was like, I think I can forgive myself. I am not perfect. That's the reality. And all I can do is put one foot in front of the other. And so I started doing that, and I felt so much better every day after that. And it's been like that from then on. It's just so beautiful to be forgiving, especially to oneself. So here is one fence after the other, until we get to the final fences, until we hit. We hit where we want to hit. Here we are trying to go to another ashram, trying to live a little more monastic life, which it doesn't have to have that name. It can just be a life that we are offering more to God, a life that is given to God. We are given that opportunity again and again. And it's a question of, when your opportunity comes, would you like to take it? And if we don't, there's nothing wrong with it. We're just not ready. Just get up and meditate again. Because what happens? The more we emphasize the truth, the real reality, the more we're out of delusion. Because what is delusion? Delusion is not something that is fake, necessarily. Swami describes delusion as the truth being seen through the ego's lens. The truth is there, but we see it through a lens that is distorted, which is our vision, which is not yet faultless. Like Babaji told Sri Yukteswar, we are in delusion because our vision is not yet faultless. We cannot see reality as it clearly is, the crystal clear reality. The moment that we get there, then reality will be truth, because that's what we are seeing. And guess what? That is exactly the moment when man can see God, because his vision at this point is divine. His vision is coming from a place of a pure heart. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. And when the heart is not purified yet, then the lenses are blurry, the lenses are distorted, and we cannot see reality as it is. So what can we do? What are our ways forward? I would like to say, search for truth relentlessly. Just offer everything that comes to us. I always say this. Prita and I were talking about this, and we were talking about truth. And I'm like, I don't know. We cannot know. It's so hard to know whether this thing that is being presented to us, or that we think is our thought, or maybe in our heart, is the truth, that I'm correct or not. I don't know that. All I can do is offer it up to the light again and again and again, and trust that little intuition that we all have, trust it, exercise it again and again, until truth becomes our reality, until we live in truth. By offering it so much, it becomes truer in our hearts. Light. I like to see light as the lightness that we might have. The lightness that someone might come to me right now and not be kind, and I can turn around and be light about it. The lightness that a circumstance comes that is not a beautiful circumstance, and those will come to all of us. Can we be light about it? Can we shine light upon it? Can we turn the perception that is suffering and see it as that is coming from God? And finally, love. Can we turn everything to love? Can we offer everything to love? The very person that might not be being kind to us, if we don't bring that to us, instead we bring love to them and say, oh my God, he's suffering. He's not being kind because his heart is suffering. And we start seeing everything. We turn everything to the light. Every single thing, we turn it to love. We shower it with love. Suddenly, the world is different. Suddenly, we see, like Master said, if you only knew how I see you. And it is because he saw us with eyes of love, eyes of light, eyes of truth. We are, in fact, the truth is, each and every one of us is a beautiful spark of the divine. And so, the way can man see God? Yes, the moment we live more in the truth, the moment we live more in the light, the moment we shine light on everything, and the moment we give love to everyone. Joy to you.